Hello, I'm Long. Now I will present the question number 1 in the case application in chapter 7. So the first question is, Melissa buys an iPhone for $240 and gets consumer surplus of $160. So the question is, what is her willingness to pay? If she had bought the iPhone on sale for $180, what would her consumer surplus have been? And if the price of an iPhone were $500, what would her consumer surplus have been? So I will answer each question. First, what is her willingness to pay? So based on the graph consumer surplus, we can calculate the willingness to pay of Melissa. So the formula would be the consumer surplus is equal to willingness to pay minus price paid. So consumer surplus is $160 will be equal to willingness to pay minus $240. So we can conclude that willingness to pay is equal to $400. It's the sum of consumer surplus and the price paid. So next question, if she had bought the iPhone on sale for $180, what would her consumer surplus have been? So we still based on the graph that we have seen before. So the Melissa's consumer surplus would be $400 minus $180. So it would be willingness to pay of Melissa minus the price paid. So the Melissa's consumer surplus is $220. The last question, if the price of an iPhone were $500, what would her consumer surplus have been? So if the price of an iPhone were $500, her consumer surplus would have been minus $100 because her willingness to pay is $400 but the price is $500, so her consumer surplus would be minus $100. So that's all from my part. Thank you for listening.
Hello everyone, my name is Tan Lam and today we'll present about the second case of chapter 7. It's about an early freeze in California that will sour the lemon crop. And I will explain what happened to the consumer surplus in the market of lemons and explain what happened to the consumer surplus in the market of lemonade. And I will illustrate my answer with a diagram. So first, for the market for lemon crop. So a decrease in the supply of lemon, it will lead to a decrease in the supply of the lemon in the market, and because of this decrease, the supply curves will shift upward, implying the decreasing supply at every price level, and the initial supply of lemon will give by the curve to S1 due to the freeze of supply curves and shift toward left from S2 and a new equilibrium point in E2. At this point, the equilibrium price increased to P2. For the consumer surplus, the difference between the willingness to pay for the commodity and the price of the commodities. In graphical terms, the area above the price line and below the demand of the curve shows the consumer surplus. The consumer surplus is given by the area A plus B plus C. Due to the decrease in the supply of the new consumer surplus in A, the main reason for this decrease in consumer surplus is increase the price of the lemon due to the shortage of the lemon in the market. The consumer surplus in the lemon market will decrease by B plus C. As you can see from the figure here, the initial of the market lemon is in the equilibrium at point E2, and the equilibrium price at B1. The consumer surplus at the price A plus B plus C. The supply curves will shift from 51 to 52, and the new equilibrium is 10 at E2. The consumer surplus become A, and decrease in the supply lead to the decrease in consumer surplus. The second one for the market of lemonade, because lemons are the key ingredient of the lemonade. So the decrease, it will lead to a decrease in the supply of lemon, will decrease to the supply of the lemonade. The supply curves of lemonades toward the left forming S2, and the new equilibrium is attended to point E2, where the price is B2, which is higher than the previous level. As you can see from the figures, the market of the lemonade is in the equilibrium at point E1, and the equilibrium price is P1. The consumer supply price is G plus H plus K. The supply curve shifts from S1 to S2. The new equilibrium is attained at E2, and the new equilibrium price is P2. The consumer supply also contracts and it becomes G. The decrease in supply leads to decrease in consumer surplus. For the consumer surplus before freeze, the consumer surplus of lemonade is given by the area of G plus H plus K. In the figure you can see from the above, due to the decrease of the supply in the new consumer surplus is G, so the consumer surplus in lemonade will decrease by G plus K. An event that occurs in one market will affect the consumer surplus in another market, like the example just present. So due to the freeze, the consumer surplus will reduce both in lemon and the lemonade market. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you for your listening.
Okay, now I will answer the question 1 in the case and application of chapter 8. My question is, the market for pizza is characterized by a downward sloping demand curve and an upward sloping supply curve. So in the question A, it requests draw a competitive market equilibrium, label the price in quantity, consumer surplus, producer surplus. Is there any that way loss, and explain it? Okay, now you can see in the figure, this figure illustrates the market for pizza. We having the equilibrium price is P1. The equilibrium quantity is Q1. Consumer surplus is area of A plus B plus C, and producer surplus is D plus E plus F. In conclusion, as you can see that through the figure, there's no deadweight loss because on the potential gain from trade are realized. Also, the total surplus is the area between demand and supply curve. It means it is area of A plus B plus C plus D plus E and plus F. And next in the question B, they told the request following to $1 tax on each pizza sold and tell the right pay prior. So we still having PP equal PS plus 1. Now we coming to the question C. If the tax were removed, everybody would be better off. The reason that is part of the consumer and producer voluntarily transferred the area P plus D to the government to make up for the tax revenue. So the result is the equilibrium quantity would be the Q1 and equilibrium price would be P1. Because of getting surplus of A plus B plus C, customer will transfer the P area to the government. So the result is the customer surplus will be in the area of A plus C. Similarly with the producer, because of getting surplus of D plus E plus F, the producer will transfer areas of D to the government. Result that producer surplus will be in the area of E plus F. Both customer and producers will be better in the case without tax. But if the customer and producer give just a little bit more for government, so that three party will get better. In this case, the case without tax.
Now is question number 2. The first one is if either the supply curve or the demand curve is vertical, a unit tax will not create any deadweight loss, but the government will get some revenue. So it is possible for the government to raise revenue from a tax that does not create any deadweight loss. And the second is a tax that raises no revenue for the government could be either a tax of zero or a tax so high that no trade takes place. A tax that is so high that no trade takes place would have a large deadweight loss.
Hello everyone, today I'm going to present the questions of chapter 9, which are the question 4 and question 7. First, regarding the question 4, consider the arguments for restricting trade. In this question, we have two parts, and now we're going to get to the part 8 of this question. Imagine that you are a lobbyist for timber, an established industry suffering from a low-price foreign competition, and you are trying to get Congress to pass the trade restrictions. With two of the five arguments that you think would be the most persuasive to the average member of the Congress. From my perspective, the jobs argument can be used here. I can argue that the free trade will lead to fall in prices, and that can lead to reduction in production. This phenomena will lead to workers losing jobs, and that will hamper the timber industry. The unfair competition argument can also be used here. I can argue that the competitors from other countries have different playing field and they played by different rules, so our industry should be protected from the foreign competition. Part and the later part of this, now assume you are an astute student of economics. Although all the arguments for restricting trade have their shortcomings, name the two or three arguments that seem to make the most economic sense to you. For each, describe the economic rationale for and against the argument for trade restrictions. The unfair competition argument can be used here. This argument is in light of the unfair practices adopted by the government to capture the domestic market of other countries. They may many times subsidize goods produced in their country and reduce the world price, leading to dropping prices of the good worldwide. An example of this is the China's intervention in the market for solar panels.
A. The greater the elasticity of demand, the greater the gains from trade. This statement is true for a given world price that is lower than a domestic price. Quantity demanded will rise more when demand is elastic. Therefore, the rise in consumer surplus will be greater when demand is elastic. B. If demand is perfectly inelastic, consumers do not benefit from trade. This statement is false, even though quantity demanded does not rise when trade is allowed. Consumer surplus rise because consumers are paying a lower price. If demand is perfectly inelastic, there are more gains from trade. This statement is false. Quantity demanded would remain unchanged, but buyers would pay a lower price. This would increase consumer surplus. Domestic producer surplus will fall, but by less than the rise in consumer surplus. Gains from trade will increase.